floating cabin. It's been here since, I think, 1974 or something. It's boat access only, west coast Vancouver Island, pretty remote. There's a few other floating cabins around this bay. I think it's about 6 o'clock in the morning. We'll see if we can catch a fish today. Almost awake. Almost awake. Back from the rough seas. Poor Sarah got sick both days. It's pretty nasty out there. Pretty nasty. Lots to talk about, but I've just been digging in my phone and trying to find a whole bunch to get in a row to read. This is the old phone again. My new phone's completely kaput. I'm sure it's been... something's going on with that new phone. It's been hacked. She thinks it's been hacked. I don't know. A bunch of weird shit's going on. It won't even take the battery charger anymore, so it's about to die its last breath. Anyway, before I get babbling, I was feeling a little confused this morning. Don't know why. I'm just going to start reading. Maybe I'll think of something to talk about in a minute. Not quite awake yet. This is titled Sighting on the Prairie. Steve, a couple of my sightings and some information I came across. I'm a self-taught sportsman that grew up in eastern North Dakota, West Fargo. My best friend from high school and I would go hunting, fishing, camping and hiking every weekend, all over the tri-state area. We also would shoot targets every chance we got, and both of us are excellent shots. In about October '79, we decided to go pheasant hunting. We always managed to take every shit road into the backcountry. We ended up on a dirt field road around the Lamour, North Dakota area, where we were in an area of several drainages, when we came across a hilly area with a rather large ravine running from the bottom to top, filled with trees, but full of prairie grass at the bottom. We thought it looked like a great spot, so we got out to try it. Parking the truck at the bottom, we grabbed the shotguns and started to walk in. The wind was out of the northwest at about 20 miles per hour. There's a thick group of trees on the north side of the grass, so we started to walk the grass from west to east. The wind was out of the northwest at about 20 miles per hour. There's a thick group of trees on the north side of the grass, so we started to walk the grass from west to east. We got about 20 yards into it when we got hit with a god-awful smell. Yep, that smell. Rotting flesh, bad BO, urine, skunk, shit, and dead fish. I made the comment, what the hell is that? Now, I've smelled some rotting carcasses before, but something wasn't right. I looked over to my buddy, but he acted like he didn't smell it. And he was a little ahead of me. I picked up my pace to get out of the smell. I then heard some large branches crack. I then cleared the group of trees on the east side, just in time to see a silvery black figure racing up the ravine about 40 yards away. My brain said, oh, a moose. But my eyes were saying, the hell it is. The back didn't look right, and there was a raised area in the middle of its back. What? That's a head. Then my brain figured it out. The figure was about 8 to 10 foot high and was trucking up the ravine, arms swinging like a human. I wasn't frightened, I just watched in amazement. I could only see its backside, but it was covered with silvery black hair blowing in the wind. We got back into the truck and didn't say a word. My buddy would have never believed me. Lemoore is southwest from Sisseton, South Dakota, where the First Nation gentleman sent in his sighting, maybe 40 miles. I'm damn near 70 now, but I remember it like it was yesterday. We all do. Every one of us does. I had another sighting while on vacation with my wife in '96 in the Glacier Park area of Montana. We had one run across the road in front of us. We thought it was a bear, but when we slowed down where it had passed, we were shocked to see a 12-foot figure standing there. I had to look up through the sunroof in the pickup to see its head. It was only its outline. Needless to say, we got the hell out of there. No way. God bless you and Sarah and family. Take care. CJ. P.S. I seen an interview by Susan Gordon interviewing Admiral Byrd's nephew, Harley Byrd. He worked for the Pentagon and had an Ultra 3 clearance. He was talking about when he worked at the Dulce, New Mexico base and the aliens that they worked with. There were a dozen races, which included the Haringeti Bigfoot. They are translucent. Harengettie. Take what you will, search it on YouTube. Alright, there you go. Appreciate you sending those experiences in. The second one's a little vague, with too much detail included, but the first one was obviously the one that left the biggest impression on you, right? And that's what everybody talks about first when it comes to this and more, is whatever left the largest, most incredible impression on you is always what comes out of people's mouth first. Every time. Every time. Another member of the Club of No Return. Thanks for sending that in, man. Appreciate it. And I'm sure a sleuth will follow up your suggestion to look into that possible person. Now, this phone is doing some weird shit too. I wonder if I just have to break down and buy a new phone or something. Maybe it's Apple doing it on purpose that you buy a new phone. Who knows? Now, give me a second here. Mark this as red. This is titled Sasquatch. Steve, I'm not asking you to share the below. I just sent it to someone that asked my take on your October video about Sasquatch. I do have a little insight because I have been a recreational prospector for over many years. I'm now retired and have no further interest in being a prospector anymore. Just too tough on my older body. Perhaps you can garner some insight of what I write here. If you do share, please don't refer to my real name. Below is the email I just sent to Jim. Excuse me. Okay, man. Quote, Jim, thanks for the find. For years, our Boy Scout troop would go to Pagosa Springs area, Colorado, and run its own summer camp. I usually ran or helped to run the rifle range. Behind the camp was a mountain that showed me that it had a very strong high-energy field. So one day I told my two older sons that I was going up that mountain and track down the epicenter of that high-energy field, HEF. As I approached the epicenter, I knew something was watching me. I never saw or heard anything. I did have a 1911 pistol at my side, and I'm very skilled at arms. But now I know that would have been pretty much useless in defending my person from one of these critters. I backed down before getting into the epicenter due to loud warning lights of caution going off in my spirit. My first wife had a high percentage of Comanche Indian blood. Over the years, her sensitivity to these type of things transferred to me. So I can sense things to this day that most have no idea are there. Our children do have Comanche blood running through their veins, and they are very more sensitive. A few days later, another adult and I went to the HEF epicenter near the top of the mountain behind the scout camp. The other adult also sensed we were being watched. You don't ever know for sure what is watching you when you are being watched, but I knew. I don't think it was a bear or a cougar. Most likely one of the much more deadly critters. I was relieved as we came down off that mountain, especially as we got closer to the Boy Scout camp. We were watched and followed until we were almost to the scout camp. Several years later, the road leading to where we set up the Boy Scout camp each summer got washed out. The authorities never opened that road again. I think protecting the secret of what was up there came into play in their decision to not open the road. This affected several ranches in that area as well as public camping area. Still, it was not reopened. The high energy fields are associated with gold, but they also attract these really bad critters. This is why many a prospector went missing. The Indians were always blamed, and in some cases this was the case, but the main cause was because they were snatched by one of these critters. They are very quick and very strong. They use the HEFs to help flow a lot of energy into their bodies. This gives them incredible longevity and strength. It also reduces the amount they have to eat to maintain health. They can initiate rainfall from these HEF and often will do so before they go hunting to dampen their smell from scaring off their prey. When they get out of their territory, the authorities will try to give them more space. If it interferes too much with what humans have established, they will send in special force troops to thin them out and push them back to their old boundary areas. Every year, dozens are snatched up by these and other unknown critters. Humans send out search parties to no avail. What they need to do is to immediately track down the high energy fields in the area when someone is snatched. This would work a lot better than the typical search parties, which have proven to be pretty useless. I have some evidence of their existence, including testimony of a friend and 2 sons. I'm 100% convinced that they exist, and I have high regard for their speed and strength. They are not to be trifled with. You're welcome to forward this email to your subscriber or anyone else, anywhere else you think there may be interest. There's a few things you said in here that make me go, what the F, dude? Well, hear me out. Quote, they use the HEFs to help flow a lot of energy into their bodies, end quote. How do you know? Who told you? How do you know this? Right? It's a confident statement. Instead of saying, I think maybe, you're not saying that, you're just saying, this is what they do. Okay, how do you know? Who told you? Who showed you? Prove it. They can initiate rainfall from these HEF and often will do so before they go hunting to dampen their smell from scaring off their prey. Alright, for me, hearing that statement makes me go, come on now. From what we have learned from all the people here, the pattern does not have, there's nothing there to back up that sentence. How do you know? Who told you? Who showed you that? When they get out of their territory, the authorities will try to give them more space. If it interferes too much with what humans have established, they will send in special forces troops to thin them out and push them back to their old boundary areas. Alright, red flag number 3. Who told you that? Who told you that? How do you know? How can you back that up? You see what I'm saying? It's when sometimes you get people who blatantly, boldly tell us exactly what's going down, with a few points that just do not make sense from what tens of thousands of people witness around the globe. The patterns, right? And then we get an email like this, it's like, all right, normally I won't really say too much, just take from what you will or leave it, but now, today I'm going to call you out on this. If you're going to email me and blatantly tell me these points, back it up. Back it up. Who told you? Who showed you? Who were the special forces? Who's the commanding officer that told you that they send these guys out to push them back? How would they push them back? How would a human being intimidate these beings in any way to push them anywhere? Even to find them, to make them move. You know what I mean? That's my stance on that one. Now, move it along. Alright, this one's titled Bud Light's Poster LOL. AOS sketch Squatch my encounter ? Hey Steve, Chris Miller here. The cat's out of the bag. Share or don't? Either's fine by me. My content is corny. Hopefully it helps somebody. Sorry, hopefully it helps somebody. I've been with you since you started the show. I didn't share because it was just a noise and I didn't need the ridicule. I served my country in 9903 in the United States Army, 101 1st Airborne Division, Air Assault Infantry. 11B, the way to be, no slack. For starters, I don't spook easily, and I am a self-taught survivalist. I saw the shape of the country and decided to move my family to the country to practice my craft. I grew up in foster care and thought I might have to run away from an abusive home my sister and I were in. We were pretty much locked in our rooms when we weren't in school or working, so I had a lot of free time. I would draw or read. On average, I could read 300-page books a week. I read every UFO, Bigfoot book in my high school library. I thought if I ran away, I'd see a Bigfoot, so I better. Fast forward, October of 21, I heard a big, long, loud whoop, is how you spelt it, from my front porch at 12:30 at night. It sounded like a tornado siren winding up. I froze for a second and debated on what I should do. I said, I don't care if it kills me, I need to see what made that noise. It scared me like I'd never been scared before. I could hear/feel my heartbeat in my ears. So, I bolt off the porch to see one of my favorite outside cats obviously freaked out, looking around. He zeroed in, looking up in a white oak tree. All of a sudden, his head snaps to the right, looking up in another tree 60 yards away. I didn't hear or see anything. He disappeared that night. Fast forward about 2 weeks. My infantry buddy came over to hunt the night before opening morning rifle deer. We stayed up way too late shooting the breeze, 2 a.m. We decided to stay up rather than try to get up 2 hours later. We took out my new German Shepherd puppy while I started to make breakfast. I hear some commotion in my room and figured he tripped coming in. He came in wide-eyed and white as a sheet. He said he heard it and backpedaled in and knocked some things over. I thought he was making fun of me. He sat down and started looking up animal noises. That's when I knew he heard it too. 2 infantry guys hunted opening morning from my shop. I'm not ashamed to say it. I did find the noise on YouTube after logging... What? 2 infantry guys hunted opening morning from my shop. Oh, I get it. I'm not ashamed to say it. I did find the noise on YouTube after logging hundreds of searches. We've been trying to ID it ever since. The video is titled Camera Left in the Woods, 2013 Georgia. We practically live outdoors. I've shared the noise with everyone I came across and nobody can ID it. I started staying up at night to see if I could hear it again. I started drawing Bigfoot ever since. Now I get accused of having a dog in the hunt. I almost let PTSD get me, but I'm good now. I have an open offer to draw what anyone saw for therapeutic purposes / research. I got my best deer last year, a 9-point, and I had a solo. I got the reminder, God didn't give us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and sound mind. I've been scared since. Just so you know, I can't get paid in my content / reels because of the app I use to animate my Bigfoot drawings. I want to switch gears and share survival tips. AOS stands for Art of Survival. P.S. I have photographed a perfect X structure. Heard a wood knock? Uncle Sam Sasquatch pick. Look a little closer. I used to hide something in all my drawings. Also notice the 2020 bat quarter that hit my palm where the news said wet marked and right in the middle of a chain shortage. BS. I noticed a symbolic pelt hanging behind you. Rhymes with tangerine. Tangerines. Alright, you got me a little confused there, but there's the picture, and that is some... You're pretty skilled at drawing, man. I guess you're locked up in a room with nothing to do. Got a lot of time to practice. That's quite the picture. Wow, very detailed. That's an incredible drawing, man. Anyway, thanks for sending that. You're not the only one to be terrified by the sound. Basically, nearly 100% of everybody is. Now let me save that image now so that I do not forget to frickin' post it. But I've just been too busy, like I know I don't want to sound like a repeating record or a whiny pussy, but I'm just so busy all the time. I don't really have any time to do much in a day. And lately, and when I'm out here doing these, sharing all the voices of all of you, the photos that come into the emails that I read, they're in here in my notes, and they have to be transferred over to my photo album. And then once I get in and get online again, then I have to remember, and a lot happens between here and there. With Sarah, kids, dogs, animals, feeding, and everything I gotta do. And then lately I just keep missing putting the photos in the videos. I apologize, but I'll try to make sure I do today, even though my day is absolutely stacked. But anyway, thanks for sending that in, man. Appreciate it. And I'm sure there would be a lot of people out there that would request you draw for them for sure. That is that's quite the skill you got there, man. It's very good. Now, who's next? Man, I seem to be off my game this morning. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to keep going here. This is titled Something Weird. Hi Steve, I'm a long-time subscriber and avid outdoorsman, fishing and hunting and such, and know most of the wildlife that Texas has to offer. I've seen a black panther in the marshes of southeast Texas once. You can call me Sil, S-I-L. I live in Central Texas, about 10 miles outside of Austin, near the town of Manor. I've been in Austin years ago. I remember going for lunch, a friend of mine, at this pub. I think it was like a couple tiered pub up on almost like a rock quarry-ish bank. Not a rock quarry, but up on a bank, and then you could overlook this great big lake. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I live in a fairly large apartment complex. Outside of my back porch is a high-line easement about 40 yards out and 40 yards wide. 20 yards past that is a 250-acre nature preserve with a creek running through it. There are wild turkeys, deer, rabbits, skunks, possums, and other animals, as well as a substantial size family of wild hogs in those woods. One evening at early dusk, sundown, but still plenty of light left, I was grilling some burgers and staring out at the other side of the high line at the tree line. There is a row of cane along the outer edge. Excuse me. There is a row of cane along the outer edge of these trees that have ranged with my rangefinder at 106 yards. I jokingly said aloud, "Come on, Sasquatch, I know you're out there, so just show yourself," end quote. And at that very precise moment, a huge object walked out from behind the cane into the open. It was about 4 feet tall and 7 to 8 feet long. It walked out about 10 yards and stopped. It surprised me so much that I said loudly, "Oh, wow." That's when it turned around and walked back towards the cane, and I got a good look at it. It looked like a huge boar hog. I guess around maybe 400 to 500 pounds. It was massive compared to the hogs I'd seen out there before. 400 to 500 pound hog is huge. We've weighed them in Alabama, but it's placed 250. And you look at a 250 pound hog and you think it's probably 400 when it's alive. I thought to myself, damn, that's a huge hog. As it walked behind the edge of the cane line, I swear, it stood up on its hind legs and walked behind the cane out of sight. It looked exactly like a Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Sabe, or whatever they're called. Just like all the photos and drawings we see as it disappeared into the woods. I was dumbfounded to say the least, and still question my sanity about what I saw. But what I understand after thinking about this is maybe it was some sort of shape-shifting Sabe or something. I don't know. But I do know I saw what looked like a huge wild hog stand up and walk off on its hind legs. I've never heard or seen that happen. I've seen hogs stand up on their hind legs momentarily, but never walk, as this thing did. Anyway, thanks for what you're doing and your quest to spread the knowledge and truth about what's going on out there in the real world. Love your drone shots. Would like to know what drone you use. Also missing Sarah's cooking show, LOL. Sincerely, Sil in Texas. P.S. I'll send you another story from the Saratoga Lights and Ghost Road later because I'm running out of time. I saw the story of that dude that saw something out there one night with his friends, and I will put in my story soon. Alright, appreciate you. Thanks for that. And just so you know, numerous people have shared experiencing seeing one of these beings basically with their arms and legs stretched out so they could be flat on the ground and moving very fast and smoothly and moving the way that no human being could move. A very awkward style movement, but they do it smooth. It works for them, and we can't do it. So that's what comes to mind when you shared that detail, right? That's what I've heard before many times. And just the fact that the beings moved like that has scared the shit out of them. Besides the being itself, right? Wow. Alright, this seems to be another. Alright, let's see what this is about. I imagine it's an experience. This phone's not very organized, I'll tell you what. Further info on Alaskan trip from previous email. Dear Steve, first of all, I'd like to truly thank you for all that you are doing for us. My name is Lloyd, and you can use it. I don't care one single bit. You're a beacon of this darkness that we're in right now. And I will say this, Steve, that you remind me so much of my own father. He was a very strong man, very opinionated yet had a lot of love in his heart for his fellow man and for the truth. And he was the one who taught me the love of the outdoors. Unfortunately, I lost him at an early age of 14 when he passed. It's hard to believe it's been 50 years that he's gone. But his memories, just like anyone else whom you might love deeply and sincerely, you will always carry for the rest of your life, and I thank him for what he taught me. He didn't stand for BS, just like you, and he had to be strong because he married my mother, who from her previous marriage had 6 children, and I was the only one of his. But anyway, that's another story, Steve. All right, appreciate that. I'm sure he's still with you every day. Anyway, this is about my Alaskan trip that I took solo. It's back in the early age, probably. I've been working for a kennel out in Pennsylvania, and because of my own stupidity got fired. Nobody to blame but myself. Life goes on. Anyway, as I'm driving back through 1,800 miles back to South Dakota, I'm trying to think what I was going to do for the summer. My only option at the time was going back and working at our nursing home in my hometown, and I really dreaded that. I felt like I needed to do something more. So, 2 days later, after getting back to South Dakota, I went up, grabbed my backpack, packed up all my camping gear that I had collected over the last few years, and went down to the bus station here in town. Bought a ticket for Fargo, North Dakota, and $125 in traveler's checks. With all the cash I had with me from there, I hitchhiked all the way to Alaska. Well, needless to say, it is a trip that I will truly remember for the rest of my life. Your wonderful Canadian government, when I got up there to the border, had to make me sign a paper stating I would be out of Canada within 7 days. And the reason for this, I guess, was because I had less than $300 in my pocket, and they were afraid that I was going to become a drain on your society. They almost didn't let me in, but the guy was finally nice enough, told me what it was, signed the paper, and got on the road. Now, my entry point in Canada was Pembina, North Dakota, and I can't remember the miles it is to the border, but the one good thing about hitchhiking when you're way up north, like that in the summertime, is you can hitchhike until like 10, 11 at night. Made a lot of miles every day, but it was the night when I was set up, usually in some little set of woods, or even in a ditch when I got really late a couple of times. But as I was going further north and getting up on the Alaskan highway, that's the Alaskan highway, there were a number of places that were not pleasant night sleeps. There were a couple of nights that were really quite terrifying. One of the first nights as I got further up north, and I believe it was up around Dawson Creek, just getting up to the Alaskan highway, my last ride of the day dropped me basically out in the middle of the boondocks, and it was getting pretty late. It was getting around 11 p.m. to 12 a.m., getting dark. Finally happened upon this little provincial campground, where I exactly, I don't remember, but I remember walking down the road going into there, and it had a lot of look like was probably willows that lined both sides of the road, and they were thick. As I walked in, all of a sudden I started getting a very eerie feeling. And I didn't have much of a flashlight. It was just a 2D cell battery flashlight. Not real great. And I kept moving the light back and forth, and about every 20 or 30 feet I would hear something rustling in the brush. I couldn't see anything. What I heard was something that was walking on 2 feet, crashing through all those bushes. I got into the campground. I think there might have been maybe 2 other campers there, one in a trailer, and I think the other one was in the tent, if I remember right. I got set up real quick, and it was so late I just decided to head to bed. Now, about an hour after I got into bed, laying there, dropping off to sleep, all of a sudden I hear things bouncing off the top of my tent. I hear just kind of a very low growl. It was almost like he was just letting me know it was there. Not trying to scare me off, I guess, but just to let me know that I was not alone. Gee, what a nice creature. Right? Excuse me. Well, after not sleeping very well, I was up and out of there, basically at sunrise, I think. I got all of maybe 30 minutes of sleep. So I got packed up and I got moving down the road. The next few nights, I should say, a couple of nights were pretty uneventful. I got out of Canada within 7 days, just like the paper told me I had to be. Still have to chuckle at that. Anyway, I head on up to Fairbanks. And then I worked my way down south. I had a friend of mine stationed at Fort Richardson in Anchorage. I had headed down there to spend a few days with him and his wife. And then I headed south down towards Homer and that area. Spent a day or so down there. Man, you got to see some cool country. Now here is where the most bizarre thing happened to me. I left Homer and headed up toward Whittier. I was kind of retracing the trip that my mom and dad and I made that in the early 70s. And I always told them that I was going to someday backpack up to Alaska, though they thought I was joking. Anyway, I got into Whittier. I was just kind of wandering around the town and reminiscing being there with my parents. Good memories. And I know that it's changed from what I understand since back then quite a bit, I think. But as I got later in the day, I just figured I would spend the night there. So I went to a little place that looked like a little campground and pitched up my tent. Got a little fire going and just sat back and relaxed and looked out into the bay there in Whittier. This little spot that I picked was pretty close to the water, and it's just kind of a nice little bay area when I decided to set up. I then went down once I got the tent set up, went down towards the water and started looking for clams. Found quite a nice little bed of them and had a really good supper that night. The whole time I was gathering them, I just had this feeling there was just a pair of eyes on me. There wasn't just a pair of eyes on me, it felt like more. As I was collecting the clams, I was constantly looking to the right and to the left of me. It was fairly tree-lined along where I was, and it was very hard to see anything in there. It was like my gut was telling me, keep alert, but there wasn't really any kind of fear at all. Getting ready for bed that night, I started getting even stronger feelings of being watched, and not really any kind of fear feelings, but it was just enough to kind of make the hair on my back and my neck stand up and say, hey, pay attention. So, as I was bedding down for the night, I heard off in the trees some branches breaking. And all I could think of was that a bear... There's only periods for punctuation. That's it. There's no commas, okay, guys? And all I could think of was, is that a bear? And I'm screwed because I have no gun and I'm a long ways from anybody to help. Then it got quiet. And then I mean deathly quiet. There was not a night sound around. I just laid back and all I kept thinking was, please, dear Jesus. After about an hour, I finally dropped off to sleep. I went into a I don't even know how to describe it. It was like my body froze. And I had the most lucid dream that I've ever had. It was of me talking with my dead father. And the whole time I could hear something rubbing alongside my tent. I know this doesn't make any sense, Steve, but my eyes were closed and I was asleep. And I kept seeing and hearing large palm and scraping along the outside of my tent the whole time I was talking to my dead father. Once the conversation was finished, as he dissolved, my father that is, there was this face that was pressed into my tent that suddenly appeared to pull back away from the tent. That would really suck. Then there was a voice that came back into my head. The voice came back into my head. It was like a garbled voice that told me to relax and not to fear. At that point in time, I started waking up more, and as I did start to open my eyes more and looking towards the end of the tent where my feet were, I literally saw my tent get pushed down and then slowly lifted up and seen this palm pressed into it. I finally woke up totally, but when I crawled out of my sleeping bag, I was literally sweating and my heart was beating so hard and so fast, it was like I'd been running for miles. I don't understand why the combination of my father and seeing this. I guess there's no other words for it. Sabe? Sorry if the spelling is wrong. And that's the beginning of the kind of dreams that I have anymore. That's the beginning of the kind of dreams that I have anymore. They are very vivid dreams, very real. Plus there has been one other time where I've had that kind of a dream of talking with my father. And that one was so bad that it scared the hell out of my ex-wife because I started screaming in my sleep. I shot her ass out of bed. The one time in Canada, and there were a couple of other times I've had my suspicions. One was also in Denali National Park. That was a very strange night. Only spent one night there too, and the guy I was with freaked him out so bad he wanted to leave in the middle of the night. I'll try to make this short with what happened. When I got to Denali, I found out that I had to sign up for certain areas I wanted to camp in. And the reason for that, I guess, was because they wouldn't let you into certain areas to camp because of the bear population. And I had to wait for a little while to get someone to go in camping with me. Apparently, they kind of frowned upon people going in solo. It's kind of weird, right? So I met this other backpacker, and he was traveling through Canada and Alaska and being by himself. So we teamed up and got into a little area that was probably about, I'm saying that it was probably at least 30 miles from the main entrance. That's quite a ways. 30 miles or meters? You wrote miles. Everything was pretty uneventful up until nightfall, and as we were once again getting ready to head for bed, we cooked up some supper, but put things away, made everything as bear-proof as we could, lay down in our tents. Not 20 minutes later, we could hear this growling, probably about 30 or 40 yards from us, and we could hear something walking on 2 feet back and forth in this little scruff of trees that it was coming from. We both got out of the tents about the same time. He's looking at me. His eyes were as big as saucers. He thought for sure it was a bear. That was kind of my first thoughts too, but when I said to him, no bear walks on 2 feet back and forth like this one's doing, we both just sat down by the fire and we kept listening. And then the pebbles and the rocks started being thrown into the campsite. I think he truly realized that it wasn't a bear at that point in time, and he wanted out of there, like you wouldn't believe. And I told him this is 2 in the morning, dark canopy, flashlights, and a 30-mile hike back to the main entrance. It is miles, wow. Excuse me. I was able to talk him into just relaxing, although he never really relaxed. He never totally relaxed. Neither did I, but we just stayed up for the rest of the night, and we could hear things about 100 yards or so from us. I have a feeling there was more than one there. As we were getting stuff together, getting packed up and waiting for the first tour bus to come through, that we could stop and pick us up and take us back out to the entrance, we got to talk about the night. And I flat out told him what I believed it was. And I told him it was a Sasquatch. All he did was just look at me, not say another 5 words the whole way out. And when we got to the entrance, I asked him if I couldn't stay in touch with him to make sure he got home all right. All he did was shake my hand, said thanks for being there, turned around and walked away. Never heard from him again. Anyway, Steve, this is an add-on from my previous email you read. I believe you read it the day you got back with your little Ruby girl, your adventure dog. Such a cute pup. I'll bet it had a lot of fun on this last adventure. Hope this wasn't too long and the punctuation and grammar was all right for you. We made it. It was great. Thank you again for all that you do, and may God bless you and keep you and your family and your animals in His loving arms always. I too, as many of the others, will stand beside you and fight for the truth and the justice that we and those less fortunate need in this time. Keep up the great work. As soon as I can get a little something extra together, I'm going to be getting either a hat or a t-shirt from you all living on a fixed income. It's a little hard though, but there's always a way. Once again, God bless. Once again, God bless and keep up the fight. Keep the truth flowing, Lloyd. And you too, Lloyd. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you sending me that and sharing with all the people through me. That sure is a pattern, isn't it, you guys? The tent, the face getting pushed into the tent. That would suck. I'd rather just hear something out tapping on my tent than having a blatant a face pressed into your tent. I spend a lot of time in tents by myself. Haven't had that happen, but once I go to sleep, it's almost like I'm just submitting. When I'm in the middle of nowhere going to sleep in my tent, it's like you're just submitting. You know what I mean? You close your eyes, go to sleep, and you end up being grateful that you wake up to see another day. In a way, right? The hats and so Sarah had a bit of a cluster with her supplier a little while ago, and there's just a few mishaps with with getting her items on time. So a few people out there may have had to wait an extra week, but she got all the stuff out. I think she finally got her items from the people creating them, and she hand shipped them yesterday. All of them. She's up to date. And then because I keep forgetting to mention her and what she's doing lately. So put a little shelf up there, and she's put up a couple items that she has in stock, and got me to mention to you guys what's up. So there you go. I shared it. Another thing too is she went to Walmart the other day, and I go through t-shirts like I go through socks. I ruin them all the time, and then I just shred them up and use them for rags in the shop. So I like to get cheap-ish t-shirts, but we noticed yesterday she brought a handful home, and they just hang off you like a curtain. They suck. And I'm like, these suck, man. These suck too much. And she brought them back and brought me another size, and same deal. I'm normally an extra large. She brought me a large back, and they suck. They just hang off you like a curtain. And she's really good at clothing and items. So anyways, the ones that she has are the good t-shirts. They fit you. They fit good. They don't hang off you. They make you look like you got guns, right? So anyways, they're good quality shirts and hats that she's got. But I think she's trying her hand at designing things for the ladies out there. And I think she's getting ready to actually move forward on it and make it available too. So there you go. There's some of her goods behind it in the corner. So that's at the howtohuntstore.com, and that's what she does for a living. She's trying to anyway. So I would support her in that. Now, who else do we got? Okay, this is just titled Saved Photo. Oh, it's a screenshot. Somebody messaged me this somewhere. And it's called Pretty Clear Print, and it is a very clear print. I think I might have used this before on a thumbnail maybe. And I said, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a screenshot of me messaging the person back with their photo. And I said, only one print? No line of them? She said there was a few of them, and her husband couldn't even come close to the strides of them. He was in the Cascades, I-20 in Washington. That's all we got. Okay, let me save this to my photo album. Bink. And hopefully I remember to put that in the video, because that is a very... Make that bigger. Come on, you bastard. It's quite the print. For sure. Shared. If you're here following this still, and you have any more neat details on that photo, how you obtained it, what they saw, and if they have any more, somebody here is going to want to see them. Without a doubt. Now, what do we got here? Mark this as red. Alright, here we go. Oops. Shit. Where'd it go? Lost it just like that. Okay, this is titled, It's a Big One, Steve. You asked for it. Yes, I did. Let's get into it. Hi, Steve. My name is Hi, Steve. My name is Shareable. I am Jana Borba from up by Applegate Lake, Oregon. I'm 63 years old, and oh boy, do I got some shit to share. I've seen Sabe 7 times, and yes, they are big, hairy, and scare the shit right out of you. I still hike and I go out in the woods, but dogs always with me. I first seen one between Butte Falls and Prospect on Butte Falls, Prospect Road back in 06 or 07. Not sure, but I was driving. As it entered the road, first thought was elk. I stepped into and across the road in 2 steps. I speeded up and then I stopped, rolled down my window and stared across the logged off area, but it was not there. It should have been there. Then fear kicked in and I'm like, shit. The effer must be hiding and close. I rolled up my window and tore out of there. It was starting to snow, so I went into Melford, Oregon to pick up my second-born son. I told him, you ain't gonna believe what I saw. So on our way back to the ranch, we stopped where I thought I seen the same, but no footprints. I'm like, what the F? Prints should have been there. My son's like, are you sure it wasn't a bear? I'm like, hell no, it wasn't a bear. It walked under those limbs there, which were approximately 10 feet high. And I know what a bear looks like. It was about 9 feet tall, long arms, hairy, and walked on 2 legs. I doubted myself and then told myself, you know what your eyes seen. But nobody's going to believe me. Who cares if they believe me? I've seen a Sasquatch. They are real. Okay, nothing else seen besides normal animals in the woods for years, thank God. Previous years, I've seen what your viewers say is the predator. Shit, I thought my eyes were going bad. The trees had a ripple effect, but my boyfriend's seen it too. That was up here behind Applegate Lake while camping. Not sure of years, so I'll say 98, 99. We didn't think much more of it. Also, as a small kid around 8 to 9 years old near Truckee, California, Truckee, California, my sister yelled, "Bear, run!" Bunch of kids and we all ran. But before running, I looked where my sister was pointing and seen a big, hairy thing standing on a hill we just came down from. Assumed bear, so we all ran. But now looking back, it couldn't have been a bear because if it was 9 or 10 feet tall. And as it stood between a broken tree and a boulder, between a broken tree and a boulder we used to climb on. No bears that big. Okay, here's the topper. 2 years ago, I meet my boyfriend I'm now with, and he had to go to Portland to see doctors. I had a girlfriend who came up for a couple nights, but had to leave. So I decided to pull out the night vision and look across the road for bear, cougar, or anything else like night animals, when a very large, very big hare creature ran down the middle of the road, taking up the whole view of my binoculars. I dropped them, which hit my TV, thought I broke them both, shut them off, creeped to check the door was locked, crawled in bed, covered up my head. It scared me so bad, I almost suffocated under the blankets. There's more, Steve. I heard you read a story from someone who's in the same area it's located in, Williams, Oregon, up top of Caves Camp Road. My boyfriend was a logger and lived up there. At first, we were in his small camp trailer across the road. Later, we bought a 34-foot fifth wheel and moved to an open large area where one thing after another happened up there. We even got snowed in up there. It really sucked. But we did it. Lots of shoveling snow, all attached picks. We heard screams, branches breaking with no wind, bare footprints in the snow, gravel thrown at the front of the fifth wheel, a small tent-like structure across the road, language which sounded exactly like the Sierra sounds. Found madrone branch way far from the tree it came from. But still, my boyfriend would work on his truck after dark. Until we had moved to Lone Creek Road off Caves Camp behind a BLM locked gate, which was on far from where we were, but this place was really the topper. We were driving in the dirt road and I seen 3 of the hairy things, but didn't say a word because it was getting dark and my boyfriend was driving too fast to back up and see, and I figured they would be gone anyways. 2 big ones, 1 small one standing in front of the 2 big ones. One was really big. Other one looked like it had no neck, a wider head. One in front looked like an Ewok. Then one early evening, we were going up to camp and my boyfriend hit the brakes hard and started backing up. I said, "What did you see?" I didn't want to look, but there it was, walking up the steep, steep mountain looking back at us. He's like, "What the F? That's a Sasquatch." See? I told you they're real. You know, Steve, he admitted that he didn't doubt me, but really didn't believe until he seen it himself with his own eyes. I guess that's what it takes for people to believe they're real. Again, same road, early evening, I yelled, "Stop!" I quickly jumped out of the truck, looked over the bank, it was gone. A very tall red one, skinny one. It was moving very fast, and within 30 seconds of me yelling stop and jumping out, it was gone that fast. I before wanted to see one, get a picture. Not now. Hell no. They are way big. They are way big and way scary. Okay, the same area, we both heard all the sounds stop several times. There was a creek right behind us that we got water from. Swift water that ran under the dirt road behind us. It ended in a dead end. We once were walking out to shut off the generator. All of a sudden, no sound. We hurried back inside and said to each other, what the F just happened? The creak was super loud but suddenly silent. This happened several times while we were inside. One evening as my boyfriend was come back from shutting off the generator, his blue heeler was cowered under the fifth wheel steps, shaking. This is the dog I forced my boyfriend to take outside with him in the dark because the dog never left his side. Chased bear, cougar, balls of steel. Nurtured, by the way, LOL. But for some reason he ran and hid. This was before my boyfriend seen the big hairy, of course. And after seeing it, he didn't go out after dark anymore, LOL. I still like hiking by myself. Besides dogs, my wooden staffs I made. We even had chickens. I used to say out loud, don't you hurt my chickens or I'll hurt you. You know what, Steve? Nothing bothered our chickens until we moved here. Damn fox killed my last 2 roosters. I gave my big one to a lady in Caves Junction, a vegetarian, LOL. All 3 were barred rock roosters. Nice chickens. I'm so happy to be away from Caves Camp area because it's Sasquatch Central. I can feel them when they're around. We all can. I think most of us can. I shouldn't say we all can. My border collie even bolted on us as we hiked once up the mountain where they're a very large structure. There is no man's land and hella steep. Hope I got footprints still on the phone, but I don't care about getting pictures anymore. Damn things are real and too scary. Thanks for being an icon, Steve. You're a celebrity. Ugh, no, I'm not. I've been watching you approximately 4 years or more, way before the subject came out. I'm still not scared of the woods, but I'm all eyes, ears, and senses. Stay safe, and I'll be back, Jana. Wow, you guys have seen a lot of shit, Jana. You've seen a lot. I appreciate you sharing all that with the people through me. Celebrity, you guys know my stance on the celebrity stuff. I'm not being a dick, I'm just saying, it's just the celebrity word makes me cringe because celebrities make me cringe. Celebrity. We are all one. We are all one. We're all here together and we're all we got. It's each other. That's it. Now, I hope her mentioning all those names of places helps somebody out there, right? Let's hope so. And if you have been around those same places and had some kind of similar experiences, you want to get up your chest, you know what to do, right? Share my story at howtohunt.com. Let's keep this ball rolling. Another one. This is titled, Looks Human. Said basically everybody. Hey Steve. Jack Willis, back at you with a photo I took standing in a hayfield about 60 yards from the perp. The grass you can see in the field is hitting me right about my chest. And the perp is not on a ridge. And he is a good 5 or 6 feet above me because I'm 6 foot tall. Yes, he was watching my wife load up some metal that was to be recycled. And I was there the day before by myself cutting up some of the metal. And I kept hearing whistles in that tree line and felt like I had 10 sets of eyes on me. Plumb spooky. But I came around a trailer. My wife was loading on my trailer and I seen movement back in that tree line. So I turned around and went back around the trailer, out of the perp's sight, and dug my phone out. There's no punctuation at all. I'll get through it. We'll get through it. Dug my phone out of my pocket and popped back around that trailer and squeezed off a photo and hid my phone immediately behind my back and got this Sabe. Watching. Carrie, my wife, loading the last pieces of scrap on the trailer. But if you zoom in on center of photo, you can see a 10-foot human face. I have to go back to this place outside of Castle Rock, Washington State. There are bad things going on with the aliens docking in the hills and mountains and our lakes. So be careful, Steve. And you may want to get a GPS beacon on you, just for Sarah, in case you're a day late getting home. It can't hurt. ND is smart, and I know you don't have empathy on stupid, so be careful. And yes, you can use my name, Jack Willis. a record holder in kills in many categories. Steve, peace, sir. All right, here we go. 10 feet tall, center, human face. Oh, look at that. It does look like there might be something there. Oh. There you go. Another photo of something. Sure looks like something, doesn't it? It looks a lot like what I got a photo of in the similar kind of leaves back here in the back 40. It'd be funny, wonder one day, I was sitting there wondering the other day, we were basically in the middle of nowhere. I was attempting to go get my trail cameras again, which are in the middle of frickin' nowhere, and I've only been there twice with two of my buddies who are loggers. And I wasn't driving, so I'm just looking out the window, looking around like a dog, right? On a road trip, so I didn't really take note of too many of the details of where to turn. But now I look back, it was like once you leave Banfield, it's about a 25-kilometer run, and then hang a right, and then go downhill, and then you come to about 2 or 3 other turns. You gotta stay straight, cross the river, and then it comes to a Y, and then you hang a right, go another 4 kilometers. And it was absolutely pouring rain. Sarah, both of us are basically zombies from 3 days of all these characters on the floating cabin, and then and starving. And I came to another big Y, and I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I'll have to go back and try again later. And then we backed out of there and bashed our way home on that nasty ass road. So I didn't get them. But as I was daydreaming about going and getting those cameras, because where they are along a river called the Klanawa River. It starts with a K if you want to Google it up. And just over the hill, over through the timber, is Nitnat Lake. And also the Carmana. It starts with the C. Carmana is very near there too. And some native friends of mine at Banfield have had numerous experience with these beings along the Klanawa area while hunting. Another friend of mine, woodcutter / fishing guide, he was in the Carmana hunting, and he said there's one just standing there in the logging cut with his hand on a stump looking at him. He said it's about 100 yards away. Scared the shit out of him. And I know some other hunting guides or fishing guides from Port Renfrew area that have well seen these beings around Nitnat and the Carmana. So I'm just saying, and there's numerous other experiences that I've heard of in the same areas. So obviously, while I'm going down to get into that timber, and I will take you guys with me with the video camera so you can see how creepy it is in that timber. So for me, you always just take note of everything you've been told from the people, right? And note taken when I go there. And we put the cameras there last October. And this big tree fell down with the root ball up, and that root ball was probably 14 feet high. It's a big one. And I jammed that camera right into the root ball because right there was this incredible trail. Pounded with elk, Roosevelt elk. So we put that one in there, and then we tried to follow that trail into the timber, which has never been logged before. And the trails in there were incredible. The elk sign was incredible. And the moving was, once you got back to that initial blast of thick shit, the trails between there and the river were just incredible. The timber was open, fairly open. I'll take you there when I go get the cameras. I think in a couple days, I hope. And then the other cameras in there on the trail. But anyways, getting back to my main point was, I was daydreaming as we were driving along thinking, I wonder if one day, somebody, something is just going to stand up. Here I am. Let her rip. Take all the pictures you want and stand there proud with a matter-of-fact look on their face and just go ahead. This is me. This is who we are. This is what I am. Take my picture and share it with your people. Or a video camera, you know what I mean? I wonder if that'll ever finally happen. Because until that does happen, all we're going to get are photos that are kind of, I can kind of see it. Do you know what I mean? Wouldn't that be incredible if one day that happens? One day that happens. But anyway, I gotta get moving. And it's funny, I was gonna make a mention, a friend of mine who hosted this little gathering we had on the weekend. He's one of the most incredible fishermen I have ever witnessed in my life. A little off topic, but I gotta say this. And he's definitely not internet oriented, but logger, lifelong logger, hunting guide, fishing guide. And I've never seen anybody catch fish like this in my life. Like I like to say that I will catch fish each time we go, but yeah, we'll get to a spot. Hello? Whew, full on interruption there. Sarah came in and said I've been gone an hour and a half. What? Weird. Definitely wasn't on my game when I first started recording, but that's kind of odd. But anyway, we had to take off right away. I lost track of time. Wasn't really on my game this morning when I first started recording. But anyway, what I was talking about was my buddy, Jody Thompson, who's got the Trophy Hunter charters. And how ridiculous of a fish catching machine that dude is. He's a lifelong logging contractor, hunting guide, fishing guide. And his boat is probably one of the larger guide boats around. And this is what honestly happens. I gotta share this. So we'll go to a spot. It's usually his boat, my boat, another friend of ours. 2 or 3 of us. And we'll usually go fish the same spot. And you start at either end of the tack, which is which way you go one-way trolling, or this way along the shoreline. And it's ridiculous. We'll get in there, I'll put the gear in, I'll see him way up there, he's got the gear and he's making his first tack, I go up there, I haven't even had a sniff on the hook yet, and every time I'd be like, oh, bonked one, had 3 on. Like, what? Every time. Another time last summer, example, we're at this other point, bit of lumpy out. And I'm going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Maybe getting a bite here, a small one there, whatever. Every time I look at him, he's got 1 or 2 on. It's like, what the hell is going on? It's amazing to watch. And same as this past weekend, same deal. I followed him out in the morning, because he knew the route through all these islands I hadn't been through before, so I followed him out. Threw down the gear in the same spot, boom! He's got 1 on, then another, then another. It's amazing to watch. I love watching people who are absolutely skilled at what they're passionate about. I love it. It doesn't matter what the skill is. I just love watching people who have mastered their craft. I really love watching that. And it's good to watch him. But anyways, that is who I built the website for, to give him a hand. And he's not much of an online promoter or presence, so I'm going to give a little bit of a shout out here and see if we can at least get some more traffic to his website anyways. But I would strongly suggest you take this guy up on fishing if you ever get the chance. And especially for tuna in British Columbia. He is the tuna king as well. And that's trophyhuntercharters.com. I'll put up a link here for the hell of it. At least get a little bit of traffic going to his new website, right? Anyway, that's all I got to say today. I'm a little late getting this up online, but at least I'm getting one delivered to you guys today, and some more voices heard. It'll be a lot more heard. My newer phone is completely toast. I don't know why. It won't charge, period. I've tried 4 different cords with it. It's not going to do it. It's, that phone's hooped. I might even get a new phone number, maybe. Something going on there. It's really odd. Anyway, got to get going. Actually got more chairs. It's another leap in the right direction for this room and getting people here. I've got the chairs now. It's got to get a table. And what else? Quick more note, I'll ramble on a little more. We bought the Starlink internet because it was like 50% off the equipment. And Sarah explained to me that I could use it anywhere. And I thought, oh, well, that might be kind of cool. Maybe I will take it, I can take it hunting in the remote middle of nowhere and live stream from the middle of nowhere. She said anywhere, it'll work anywhere. So we got that. And now I got to be getting that going. I might even use it out here because the internet cables that I ran from the house to here, it's not working. I have to dig that cable up. Of course, right? Or do I just use the Starlink out of here? I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, that's all I got to babble about now. Onward, upward, back with much, much more soon. More voices heard, more knowledge shared. I didn't get an email out to Melba the other day. I guess I better get that out again and do some more learning. Anyway, don't stop sharing what you know, what you've seen. Don't be scared to do it. Share my story, howtohunt.com. Yeah, I'll bite my lip now because I got a lot to talk about, but I'll be back later on.